Hi, thanks for joining our ADU reality. So, today the topic is our ADU reality, the Goldilocks syndrome, finding the right size appliances. So, we're going to break this down into 5 parts. Part number 1, the Goldilocks conundrum. Part number 2, size matters. Part number 3, the Goldilocks zone and cost. Part number 4, our Goldilocks zone. And part number 5, takeaways. Thanks for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right, part 1, the Goldilocks appliance conundrum. There are so many standard size appliances out there that are readily available. But the question is that the right option for your ADU? I've seen so many ADUs that were built, for instance, for an aging parent or aging parents. And I look in the kitchen and there is this humongous 36-inch size refrigerator for 1 or 2 people. Whether, well, my mom likes to cook too. She cooks every day. But she's cooking for one, not an army. So, is it the right size based on how many people will be occupying that space? On the other end of the spectrum, I've seen ADUs to where it's for 1 or 2 people. It's not a 36-inch size refrigerator, but they've gone all the way to the other side of the spectrum. And it's like a refrigerator for a dormitory, like somebody who's away at college. But usually, if you're away at college, you're probably eating in the cafeteria and you're on the meal plan, and you may not be using a refrigerator and cooking. So, between these two polar opposites, the question is, where is that sweet spot between not too big, not too small, but just right? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. So, on that note, I will kick this off with for our ADU, we decided to install a refrigerator, a stove slash oven, some people call it a range, a over the hood microwave, a dishwasher, and a washer and a dryer. All right, let's talk about part 2. All right, why size matters. So, in your ADU, every appliance is going to occupy some horizontal and some vertical space. Some might call it cubic. Um, it's going to occupy space. And that space is going to subtract from the floor space. It might impact your form and function. You also have to take into consideration things like where your walls are in your kitchen and also where your window placement is. Now, saying this is easier than the psychological barrier of thinking, if I get a smaller appliance, I will have less. And it's really Getting the right size appliance might mean you might have more of what you need: floor space and functionality. But this is kind of like a psychological thing. So I get it. So in our kitchen of our existing home, I measured every appliance, the refrigerator, the range, the microwave. I measured every appliance. I measured the linear countertop space. And my objective eventually was to uh, kind of demonstrate to my husband and my mom that actually we would be gaining functionality if we right sized the appliances. Now, I must admit, I'm a numbers person. My husband, my mom, and many people are bells and whistles. So I did have to take that into account too. So I didn't just pummel them with numbers, 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 numbers. Um, what I did is I took them out separately, didn't want any groupthink. I took them out separately to look at appliances in relation to, hey, what is the right size for? It's just going to be one person if it's my mom, maximum of two if it's my husband. So she was the target demographic for one person. He was the target demographic for if there's two. And literally, we walked around. Again, this was two separate trips. And to say, hey, if it's just you, do you really think you need something like that's that big? Or, what do you think? Is this too big? Is this too small? And it really worked out well because I got to hear what they were talking about. I got to see what their concerns were. And I was able to bring that information back to have discussions. So I always have some pictures. So enjoy the pictures of some of these field trips. All right, part three, the Goldilocks zone and costs. Some people shy away from this conversation about right sizing because of cost. Because once they start going down this path of getting a smaller appliance, the price increases. And again, it's hard to get your head around. If it was smaller, wouldn't it cost less? And that's what I used to think too. And I'll give you another example. It has nothing to do with an ADU. we have an RV, and we're like, how is it the I'll call it what we call camper vans now, to where it might be a Mercedes Sprinter van or a Ford Sprinter van converted to RV camper. It's like, wait a minute, how are these more expensive than a 36-foot, a 34-foot Class A RV? You know, and someone said it to me this way: the smaller the footprint, the smaller the parts, sometimes the more expensive they are. So this is kind of the same thing in relation to this right sizing of appliances, to where a 30-inch fridge might be more expensive than a 36-inch fridge. A 24-inch fridge might be more than a 30 or 36. Then it's like, okay, in our minds, we think we're getting less, but paying more. I say, think of it this way. You might have a smaller footprint for that appliance to get more horizontal or vertical space that you can transition or use for something else that is of value to you in your ADU. So, in a way, it's about the trade off. And I've seen, again, if you watch ADU videos, you might watch a whole bunch of them like I do. You might see a refrigerator, and right next to the refrigerator, this humongous 36-inch refrigerator is a humongous 36-inch range. And there's no thermal break in between them. So again, it's a trade-off of size, cost, and function. All right. The other thing is, depending on where your Goldilocks zone is, you might be looking at appliances that are 36 inches, 33, 30. I'll throw in 27, 24, or 18. So, and it just depends which type of appliance you're talking about. It could be a dishwasher. Right now, standard size is 24. You might decide no dishwasher. You might decide a 24-inch dishwasher, a 6 or a 18-inch dishwasher, or a half dishwasher, because they do exist. So you really have to think about, man, where is this intersection between cost and form, function, and usable space? And if I could right size the appliance, can I capitalize on creating more space somewhere else? All right, number 4, our Goldilocks zone. This is what we decided. We decided, instead of getting a 36-inch refrigerator, that we would get, and I'm going to round up a little bit, I'm going to round up, that we would get a 30-inch refrigerator. We also decided, instead of a 36-inch range, we would get a 30-inch range. Now, I will say that did take some going back and forth, but actually, we have a 36-inch range in our primary house. And on 2 burners, on one side, front and back, we have this grill grate that's there. So while we have a 5 burner stove, we actually only use 3 burners. So I actually measured the 3 burners that we use horizontally and convinced my husband and my mom. We only use 3 burners now, and we're actually only using like 20 inches of the whole stove. So that kind of helped in that conversation. But I digress. So we um, conserved 6 inches from a 36-inch fridge to a 30-inch fridge, and 6 more inches from a 36-inch stove to a 30-inch stove. Also, in relation to the sink, we went back and forth on the sink, thinking, oh, we need a 36-inch sink. I measured our current sink. It is a double sink. It's not even 36 inches. So we ended up with a 33-inch sink instead of a 36-inch sink. So that gave us 3 more inches. So that's a total of 15 inches. Okay, you might, that's no big deal. But when space is a premium, horizontal and vertical space is a premium, I'm going to tell you, size does matter. So, right sizing our kitchen allowed us to create a couple of things. It allowed us to create those thermal zones or breaks between a appliance that is cold, like a fridge, and an appliance that is hot, like a stove. So it allowed us to have landing zones and this thermal break in between those appliances. It also allowed us the opportunity to have more than one appliance open at a time. So someone can open the fridge and open the oven and open the dishwasher and not have to open one, close one, open one, close one, open one, close one. Because again, those walls and those windows are really also factors into your appliance placement. The other thing with conserving that horizontal and vertical space, we actually now had more counter space. And since we had that additional 15 inches overall, now we were able to have more lower cabinets and upper cabinets. So, it was it was challenging to figure out what the right sizing would be. And the order that we did this in relation to appliances and the kitchen primarily was we focused on appliances, then we focused on the sink, then the cabinets and the drawers. It kind of all fell into place, at least for us, that way.
away. Thank you, girl.
Also, a couple of more things in finding our Goldilocks zone. It ended up that the kitchen in the ADU had more linear, contiguous countertop space than our main home. So we were really happy about that, that there was enough room to prep food, there was enough room to lay out food for company, there was enough food to host, and it wasn't tight, constricted, and again, appliances taking up space that we could utilize somewhere else. Also, in the washer dryer, we decided to do a stackable washer and dryer. Again, as not to take up more horizontal space and utilize that for something else. But the other thing in relation to stackable washers and dryers, we were very cognizant of where the controls were. Some washers and dryers are stackable, and the controls are on the top of each unit. So that means either you have to have super Gumby arms if you are shorter, or you have to use the app. Again, thinking of who's going to occupy the space, also take into consideration if they will be able to um, move around in an app, or if it's just going to be too frustrating for them. So we found a stackable washer and dryer unit to where the controls for the washer and the dryer were in at the midpoint. And for our washer and dryer, it is in the bathroom, but our bathroom is 9 by 9, and it was the perfect fit. All right, we're going to wrap up with the takeaways. Pretty simple. But after the takeaways, I'm going to show you what the kitchen really looks like, and the appliances and the washer and dryer in the bathroom. So don't no, just wait. Okay. Takeaways. Standard size appliances may be too big for your ADU. Dorm size appliances may be too small for your ADU. Appliances somewhere in between that take into consideration size, space, form, and function might be just right. Enjoy, like, share, and subscribe.